His age? Oh, okay. How do you feel if he rolls? You okay? Just in case I don't go against all protocol. So this is Sultan, just heard this. He's 7, and the reason I said, how do you feel if he rolls, because he did that one gesture, and I thought, you know what, I can school him and tell him to stand, he's gonna get all dirty. Or I can literally acknowledge that, and I want to share this with you because others might have been told if they want to roll before, tell them to stay up. Why? He wanted to roll, he's just come here, he's not been in this arena at all, he doesn't know the area, and I've basically said, I acknowledge what I see you want, it's okay by me, go roll. So the rolling gesture can be done to blend with a location. If you watch the Mustangs in the wild, they can roll for chiropractic adjustments because they've got a scratch. They might roll to blend to the location. He's a stallion. I'm only just getting to know him, so one of the things might be he's carrying his head on the ground, and this is to smell here. Don't confuse that with the head gesture of showing respect. That head gesture, he's looking at this area to see who was in this round pen or this area before. It's not one out of respect at this time. So, good morning, Melissa. It's going to be interesting. Never met him before, so you're going to see behavior. So there's the cue. We just start communicating. I was going to go up to say hello. He decided to leave. So what happens is the line's in the right hand behind him. The left hand will help his movement at the front, his nose, his eyes. The shoulders are square, my shoulders. That's a playful gesture that he's doing, a stallion gesture with that front leg. My eyes are on eyes. That means that I'm asking him to leave, but I don't want my eyes to be offensive. He's making his circle smaller. So you really don't want to challenge a stallion, but you really do want to talk to him. The ear's locked on, this left ear. I'm going to ask for forward motion to see what I get. And I might even throw the line there. And the line tells me how he feels about the line. Watch that. So is he respectful? Is he fearful? Is he concerned? We're looking for the history of this guy. What does he tell you? So the tail's up. Quite excited. He's got a bit of energy in here. Likes to show off some. Now, if you watch the front legs, you've got to let him play some. So he's snorting, he's got the tail up. It's not a fear sign, it's behavior expression. So you can still communicate with him as he's doing that expression, and he's changing his lead at the front. He's getting used to it, that's his choice. And he looked at those horses over there. So I want you to know I didn't turn him at that point. It's also his choice that he's choosing this gait. And he's more fluid on this side, so you have left and right-handed people, left and right-sided horses. I'd say he's more right-sided. So he's more free on this side. That's what tells you he's more right-sided. So my eyes stay on eyes to connect. What I don't want to do is fade out. I might show you this. I don't want to fade out in the center where I just stand and I've got no connection, and I've got a horse running free. I want my horse to know I'm connecting, which would mean to stay in position and to follow him. So to drive him, follow him, not chase him. That would be the difference between the fear and drive. So from here, going a little quick, we're going to change direction a few times. Okay, just to bring his mind back. I'll put my eyes in front of his to block him. Hopefully you can see that. Eyes in front of his to block him, follow through with the line. Now he's animated, and he's also on exhibition here, so he's got jobs to do. So you're going to see personality, remember that piece. So there's the expression I wanted to show you. Things like if you pick your legs up, see that guy float? Look at that. And I can acknowledge that by dropping my eyes, dropping my head to say wonderful. So he's going to want to do it on his own. If you pick your legs up, watch that guy float. So they mimic. When I thank him, I drop the energy. So that's an expression of thank you for saying, thanks for dancing with me. The ears locked on. I'm going to bring my eyes back to ask him to slow down. Eyes back on eyes to keep the forward. If I'd like him to slow down, I can drop the eyes back. Keep him at the trot, keep the legs moving. So the power of the eyes, you've seen somewhat on the turn, but also there with the speed. Now, if we go for another change of direction, he's more connected now. Put my eyes in front of his, follow it through. I'd like him to turn to the outside, but not attached to it. When he looks in, he's asking. So that was just an ask, and I wanted to turn to the outside. I know he can turn in. He's not aggressive, he's really quite kind. He's making the circle smaller to say, I'd like to be with you. He's softened his footfall now, so that's really neat. Now, from here, let's see if we can show you more. If I push my energy out, my energy bubble expanded. Oops, that worked. I really was looking for speed, but in that case, he did expand his bubble. So if I look at the chest expand my bubble, you can actually, if people see energy, they'll be able to see an expansion. Now, if you ground that same energy, and you're still doing the pattern, if you ground the energy, you breathe in deep. In this case, you're seeing a head drop and a lick and chew. So the feet are moving, there's your body language, but the energy is grounded. So you could, what he demonstrated was, as you grounded your energy, you released energy, so less pressure, and he was licking and chewing and lowered his head from it. There's the grounding. If I pick up the energy and see a bubble moving, hold on, gotta get him paying attention, his head's to the outside. So that means making yourself bigger, visualizing a bigger bubble. In this case, I'm still moving forward, but you can visualize it. Now, if he's very in tune, he'll actually keep the feet moving from that. In this case, the only change I saw was the circle stayed bigger. So he didn't cut across. So there's my energy piece, and you'll see it on the other fella even as well. Now, if we go from there and visualize in our mind's eye, so if you see pictures, the 4 beat, the 1, 2, 3, 4 beat, you can get a walk. That was actually on the money. I didn't want to say walk because you'd think he'd learned the language. So that's why I said the 4 beat. So when you visualize to them what you're looking for, and in that case, the walk, he did that instantly. Now he's wanting to roll. So this time I've asked him to keep moving. So you've seen the energy between the two, you've seen telepathy. And maybe we can do more of that as we go forward. He's done some nice turns, he's got rhythms, he's got fluidity. He's listening, he's paying attention. He's holding the head slightly to the outside, but he's managing to pay attention with it. You're seeing a lot of personality come through, and how that helps you is to understand that that would help with your training program. If I've never met this guy before, and I take my trainer's word, and Jen says, you know, he's a 10-year-old stallion, likes to perform, but he's okay. Here, I've got it for myself. I'm going to visualize the 4 beat and see if he listens. He has the choice. There we go. What I've learned is that this guy is very tuned into the mind. And so anybody working with him needs to be responsible for their thoughts. What I've also learned is that he's willing to soften his mouth, lower his head, show that sign of respect, wanted to come closer. He paid a lot of attention, not 100%, but enough to pay attention to me and know what's going on. He stayed soft. He's a bit of a character, likes to show off, had some excess energy, but even when he shows off, he pays attention. And when he shows off, he's animated to say, I'm a stallion and I'd expect nothing less of him, but still respectful. Never kicked out, never charged, never tried to eat me. He's now saying we're done. So you will see others go, okay, let's continue. I am a little bit more flexible than some, and I'm talking to you guys, so my demo went on. But he basically said that's the equivalent of taking your shoulder by, asking them to come to you. I will say, and this is where we negotiate, please don't lay your head in the present and start smelling something else. You need to keep your head up. So a little bit of pressure said that. Now he works quickly. So he said, if you're not going to communicate with me this quick, I'm going to have to roll or pay attention elsewhere. My eye's on him, I don't know him enough, I want to keep the distance, and the close connection, you've seen many people do this, validates the relationship and the conversation. There's my rubber band. Any longer, I'll lose him. I like his head up, so that arm said, please raise your head while you're in my presence. You don't know the area. You need to pay attention to what's happening around you, because I don't know if you're spook. I like him to just back off. And so this is my personal space. I like that far away. He wants to come in, see? But really I don't want him to come in too close. So I'm showing him as kindly as he's showing me, that's where I need you to stand. And he'll edge forward. But you don't have to be too hard on them. You're just repetitive to say, stand there, this is my personal space. Now you also saw he likes to work quickly. And how you saw that, he drifted in his mind and he drifted on the floor. And now he's saying too, let's do something. So I like to acknowledge that. While we might teach patience, at the same time, I can walk him around, he has been running, and acknowledge the fact that he'd prefer to walk than he would stand. And I feel that that's the team, is the ability to listen to the horse, to say, I see who you are, I want to enhance your personality, not change it, and I will adapt my program to your needs today. Now, if he were in my care after this, it allows me to create the training program to say, this is who I'm dealing with, I will work with that behavior, it's only a nip, not a bite, and say, if you're going to nip, you're not welcome in my space, that's all. That's all it is. The boundary, the guideline is you step there because you can look around and you can hold your own emotions, but when you're with me, don't touch me in that manner. Okay, so that's Sultan. What I wanted to do was show you two different personalities and maybe two different ways of communicating. So here's our first one, and I'll have time for questions just afterwards. So Jen, wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. They only found out this morning that their horses were in my demos, so I have to applaud them for trusting me enough to work kindly with their horses. We all have different philosophies on working with the eyes, with animals and horses in general. My experiences come from working with the Mustangs and watching them in the wild. I really enjoy that. For the past 13 years, I've gentled Mustangs, started them under saddle, observed them here in America, as well as observed Brumbies in Australia. And when you start watching them in their natural habitat, you really get the answer as to how horses work with the eyes. Making sure you can roll safely there. Now what it means is, when you watch them, a horse will get eye contact with another horse in order to facilitate the communication. It's non-verbal. You've seen they don't say much out loud, even the stud didn't say too much. So it's a silent language. I can't communicate with you unless I've got your eye contact. Because if I'm looking over here, she won't really know if I'm answering her question unless I intermittently get the eye contact. So the eye contact means that we gain the attention of the individual. If we're driving a horse forward and we're back at 45 degrees, that's the 45-degree angle that a stallion will actually drive a herd. It's not a straight line, it's a 45-degree angle. So we're back at 45 when we ask for the forward motion. When we're back at 45 and we combine that with shoulders square, eyes on eyes, the gesture means I'd like you to move forward. If we advance forward, they retreat, and so we're getting that interaction going. Now, if the eyes are on eyes for this procedure in the round pen, then when we remove them, we're making a change. So, if they do something that we're really wanting to enhance and we're looking for, like dropping the head, relaxing the body, licking and chewing, coming closer, getting a nice rhythm, good transition, we say thank you. Now, if you wanted to train your horse to a verbal command, maybe you would say good boy. But in this case, in their language, dropping the eyes means thank you. So your eyes are on, and you drop them below their nose to say thank you for 1 second, and then back on eyes. As he comes over here to say hi, I present the back of the hand to do that. You'll see he's actually just chosen to breathe here with the one nostril. Often they shift it back and forth. And if they do that, it can be a sign of a balanced horse when they they breathe out of both sides. So he's wanting to share space. If I were to look him in the eye, it could mean stay there. So if you're this way, square, looking in the eye, it means stand. If I look him in the eye all the time, I would actually tell him not to pay attention to his language anymore. So he'd get immune to it. When you have the eyes on eyes and you go in front of the horse, you can block them with a laser beam if they're sensitive enough, their turn. If they've been lunged or something where the person hasn't used the eyes, then maybe you need to reinforce it with the body language. You won't meet sweeter stallions than these guys. But the other thing is, Bernadette, when I met these guys and I went over to the stall, I just went to the stall to see him. I'm going to glance him in the eye, who wouldn't? Because the eye is the window to the soul. If I've got a 10-year-old stallion, which he is, I'd like to know what his eye is saying. So I'm going to glance up to see, is it soft, is it kind, is it mean? You know, has he got experience that he feels he has to protect himself? His eye is so kind. So I can glance at my horse's eye like now, but if you get the eye contact and you drag your eyes, you're asking your horse to come to you. So that time, he got eye contact back, I dragged the eyes and I said, why don't you come on over for a second? It's a silent language. So it can mean come to you, it can mean please leave, please stay back and stand, let's change direction, pay attention, or how are you feeling today? But if all you do is stare your horse in the eye, it will be meaningless. So the thank you's the dropping down. However, if you draw your eyes when he's actually leaving back to the hind end, you can slow a horse down. If you draw your eyes to the hind feet, you can ground the horse's energy and you'll bring them to either a transition change or a stop. If you want to change speed, as soon as you see the rhythm in the body change, you put your eyes back on eyes to maintain that gait. If you keep your eyes off too long, the horse will turn into you. So hopefully that's a good explanation for everybody to hear.
The eyes are a crucial element of the equine communication system. When connecting with horses, eye contact will help you to commence the communication, gain attention of the individual horse, acknowledge communication, like saying thank you, drive a horse forward when combined with other body language. You can ask a horse to stand and back up, block or slow down by standing a little in front of them or blocking with the eyes. By drawing an invisible laser beam in front of the horse, you can ask for a turn, either left or right. Determine their mood by glancing at their eyes. You're asking them, how are you feeling today? If you drag your eyes from your horse's eyes towards your feet, like drawing an invisible line in the sand, you're asking your horse to come to you. The eyes are indeed a window to the soul. You can determine softness, kindness, if they're concerned, worried, frustrated, or happy. Each glance you make towards the eyes can reprimand or ask for attention, get a horse to stop, stand, back up, draw them to you. Downward transitions. You draw your eyes back to the withers, the rump, the hocks or the hind feet. By grounding the energy, you're asking your horse to slow down. The direction changes can take place in the paddock, in the stall, in an arena, in the round pen. Just imagine an invisible laser beam to block and slow that horse down. These are just a few examples of what you can do to communicate with your horses with your eyes.
Here's our legal guardian. What's his name? Amadeus. Oh, wow. Amadeus. There's a great song with Amadeus as well. You do? Oh, that would be terrific. So everybody's got to see that too. And Amadeus is 10? He's 10. And is he a breeding stallion? He is a breeding stallion. Awesome. Okay. That's fantastic. You guys should really check this out because not all breeding stallions are this gentle. And I wouldn't want you to think that every Friesian is too. One of my most aggressive Friesians that I worked was in New York, and He took 2 people to handle him. We had one long line this way, one long line that way, and every time he tried to kill the one person, the other one would have to pull him off. So you keep yourself safe that way. So I've got the contrast here. I've got Mr. really gentle and kind, but they don't all come like this. What it is a testimony to their handling. Okay, so I'm going to show you another way. Sultan was free when we started. This time we're going to start with his butt to the audience. Now what this will show me is how he feels about you in the blind area. He's standing nice and square with it, straight square. His ears are back, he's listening somewhat to the audience. So although the mic is over here and I'm here, when you see his ears back, it just tells you where he's listening. That's all. Now on the facial features, for those that are into the facial features, we've got some time to address that. This fella has got a bit of a heart-shaped top lip. When you look at it another time, it's like an upside-down heart, that top lip, just here. And that tends to indicate that they really like people. So for me to go and visit him this morning, I can see that his mouth's a little short, just there, not really long, as he licks and chews for you. And he's got the heart-shaped lip with a tiny moustache. So just checking that out, I could see that he has a degree of innocence about him, but is very friendly with people. The nostrils, you look at the shape and size, and it depends on the individual. And so the nostrils can also show a degree of innocence. It's great with this. Sometimes they run through these halters. There. Okay, and his face is quite straight here, which is kind of nice, a straightforward character. Now, if you remember Sultan, he had a little bump, if you paid attention. And that bump is a bump that actually shows inflexibility. And so what that would mean from a training standpoint would be, if you were to get harsher when he doesn't understand or want to do it, he would probably fight you and disagree. So this fella, Amadeus, has a bit of a straighter nose, which tends to suggest he'd be more amicable on that, with that very kind eye. So I'm going to take my shoulder by, which is a request for him to follow. Standing square in front, ask him to stand, giving him the benefit of the doubt. Rubbing them between the eyes, that's the blind area, and that's an area of trust. It's also known as the third eye. So you're in a blind area up to 6 feet in front of him. I'm in it. Being able to touch him there is huge for somebody that doesn't know you. Standing square means I'm asking him to stand and respect my space. Is he capable of doing that? Totally. He's responded right away. When I take the shoulder by, it's a request for him to join me. He can, or he can choose not to. But the line, there's a bit of slack in it, so I could close the fingers. Standing square, asking him to stand. Now, if he comes a little too far into the space, you can back him up. And what that does is move his feet, but it also shows you that you're creating space, which is respect. But moving the feet into a blind zone is a good thing to be able to do. If you can influence the feet, you're actually getting leadership. So at the beginning of the conversation with him, we're doing it differently to establish the body language so he knows I speak Equus, and for him to respect the space. That foot, did you see it? Just drew the other 2 feet forward. So he was listening to 1 foot there. And he likes to be fairly close, both of them do. Difference being, this guy knows how to keep his mouth to himself, so he's fine to stand here. Now, this is called an orientation. So he's been loose as well, but this way he's seen north, south, east, and west, and it gives him a chance to see the area. My coils are good. Okay, I'm going to unhook. I haven't looked him in the eye at this point, so it truly is off of the body language. And the big thing, and you'll see some differences in this, would be that I'm not looking for him to bolt away, and I'm not looking at predator-prey. I'm really looking at that partnership of a moment of leaving. And we see how forward he is. Okay, so there, when he broke away, for me that's the sign. You didn't pay attention to the 2, so we're going to move forward. I've automatically gone in back at 45. So I can drive him forward. Now my heart space, this is my heart area, my heart chakra, goes to his. The 2 official heart chakra places, one's at the withers, one's in between his chest here, but the heart will be between the shoulders. So the heart goes to his heart, and that's how you can communicate energetically with him. Eyes are on eyes, Shoulders are square, my feet are moving. As I advance, he moves. So you see the little bit of the circle coming in, the ears on. Now the difference between the two, I was just going to tell you, he's got it on more. It's really kind of this way. It shows you that he's paying attention this way. You can see him move nicely. Now if we move hips, I'm playing now, you guys are seeing me play. He went off of the hips. So the hip movement alone, and I didn't know if it would work, he responded to real sweet. So you can see, pay attention to every movement you're doing. I'm going to bring my eyes back to his hind feet, eyes back on eyes, acknowledge the head drop. So the eyes back, ask for him to trot. When his head came down, I lowered my eyes below his nose. So let's try that again. Bit of animation. This time no, right? Okay, this time no, he goes not twice. So the right hand helps the hind end, the hips. The left hand deals with the front end. So this one, if you wave it out, you'll get him to come out further with the shoulders. So, if he's really paying attention, you see it because his head comes in when he pays attention. Here, listen to this hand. Now, we're going to do this differently, guys. So he's just said, can I come to you? I'm going to change this up some. I'm going to acknowledge the head drop, bring my eyes back to his hind feet, suggest that he slows down, see his body slow down. It's beautiful when you see that. So there's a relaxed horse for you. Head down, body's relaxed. He's moving really well. So the eyes are on eyes, but you can see your whole horse. And then I forgot that. I was going to ask him to slow down. So I'll put my eyes on his hind feet with where he's spooked forward. And we're going to invite him in. Just because we can. Right? And I wanted to show you that you don't have to have a set procedure with the round penning where you think I've got to go X amount of direction or laps one way and the other. In this case, I saw earlier he said, may I come in? And I thought, I'll break it up. I'll make it a little different with him so that you can get that essence of who they are and that you can see we can stop, we can praise, we can put the pauses in anytime we want. It's all your choice. So there's his next gesture. He basically said, I'd like to follow you, but we're going to do more demos. But I already know that he's connecting enough to want to follow. So we're going to ask him to leave because that gives you more personality too. How does he feel when he's been invited in and then gets told to leave? How will he react to that? Will he get upset? Will he be hurt? Will he sulk? Will he get aggressive? It tells me more about who he is. Can I put breaks into my lessons? Should I extend my lessons? How do I create my training program? So twice he said, can I come in again? We're saying no. So the left hand said no. I need you to stay out and continue traveling. There we go. Now, we haven't tried too many turns and I'd like to do that. Put my eyes in front of his, shoulders in front, little close. But he did look, it was funny. That one will get better. And the line really is that extension of your arm. It's a soft line, you never hurt them with it. But this side gives you a whole new perspective of what's going on. How he travels, is he balanced? Is he rhythmic? Can he handle this okay? Good job. So he's volunteering it. The degree of the change created the impulsion, bit of the line. And I want you to see when you throw the line out, how does he react? There's an up high line. And then we can do down low. And you see he's fine. So I would do that with the horses to find out, do they scoot from that? Have they never seen a line? Do they feel it's inappropriate? Have they had a bad experience? This would just tell you that. So we're going to ask him to slow down. I'll try it with the energy. I'll draw in the energy. Oh, didn't take too long. I was going to tell you a whole saga on that. All right, then the eyes are on eyes if you're able to see that. I just drew in the energy And that, in effect, asked him to slow down. I'll acknowledge the head drop with the eyes below his nose. So, I'm going to expand the energy bubble. So visualize a big energy bubble going that way. And you see him pick up with energy. So he's kind of different to the other fella. And the same thing, so I've got a bit faster trot. Now with that, I'm going to visualize the energy going into the ground. So you breathe it into the ground. I'll exaggerate. Oh, and then he likes to say, was that good? So I changed my program to go, that was really cool. And I want him to have a good time, that when he's showing you guys the value of this, because you should be sitting there going, am I aware of my breath? When I'm in my horse's presence, am I holding my breath? Because that will really get them to slow down. Am I breathing rhythmically so that they're relaxed? Or am I scared here? Because you can see him responding to the energy. So if he's not having a good time, we're doing something wrong. If he doesn't want to be with me, we'd be doing it wrong. These are all things that you guys can look at. If the horse doesn't want to stay with you, why? How are we not motivating him? Okay, so he knows that he's demoing. He's our teacher for today. And I think he's shown you a great one on energy. He's shown telepathy really well. And we're going to keep going. So that my eyes go up on eyes. Step back at 45. He's just going to say, you sure? We're doing more of this. The head comes down to say the same thing. I'm fine with you leading. I'm a relaxed horse. All good stuff. Now watch his nose. I don't know if you can see it from all the way back there. But it's a little higher. Kind of pulled it up a bit. And I put money on it that is somewhat disgruntled, that he's been asked to leave. So the nose is up, if you can see that. So I can see it, I can acknowledge it, that yes, we're starting, we're stopping, I'm saying thank you, but it's still all communication back and forth. He's got a nice walk going, he's staying on the edge of the round pen, that's very respectful, there's good space here, he's keeping the eye locked on, ears locked on. So what a truly cool stallion. Okay, now remember the other one was quite animated, you've got to pay attention here. This guy, less animated today, really wanting to stay close. He's also trying really hard to please in his own way, quite a placid way. Where the other one, I think, he wears his emotions on his sleeves there a bit more so you see it really clearly. So we're going to go up to the trot. First thing I do is visualize. Second thing is bring up energy internally. Third would be the body language. Fourth, the line. So you kind of did in that order. The visualization would be your whisper. The line's kind of a more direct route. So you start off with the little, just like you would with riding. You're looking at the little cue all the way up to getting a result in a nice way. Okay, that is really locked on. I'm going to try some other things, mainly because I'm having fun. So I'm going to drop, what am I going to do? I'm going to drop my eyes back here. The key will be that he doesn't turn in. Then I'm going to ask him to slow down with the eyes, just the eyes this time. If you've got to put your eyes up if he's going to turn in. If he doesn't respond to the eyes, I'll visualize it. And ask him to slow down. Remember, he's just been told to go forward, so it can take a bit of time. But keep the eyes up there, because here he goes to turn in. Eyes on. Okay, so this is a cool piece. When you tuck in behind the horse, you'll draw them in off the wall. When you block them on the left, they turn right. So I had no idea what I was really doing with you guys today. You never do till you get in. But if I tuck in behind him, it's long lining without long lines. It's pretty special. Block here on the right. Block here on the right. Follow through with the line, and you can get the turn. So here's my drive at 45. Acknowledge the head drop. Tuck in behind him. It comes through the center. Hand up to say, don't turn into me. Block him on the left side, and you do a nice turn. We're going to go all the way around now. So I'll be with him. Remember, not disconnecting. He makes it look so easy. There you go. So you can see that it wasn't a fluke. that he was actually asked to go through the center. So from there, if I'm fit enough, I can tuck in behind, keep the eyes on eyes, block this side, and get my turn. And you could go through all different gaits doing this. I can get back here, there, keeping the eyes up now, asking for a turn, and you get your dance going. Special. I acknowledge with that little eye drop or the head drop, so he knows that I'm hearing him. You want to make this two-way, not that you're speaking at him, but you're listening. So he knows he's doing an amazing job. I'm going to ask him to slow down. You can see the rhythm in the slowing. And eyes up, and I'll draw the eyes. So there we've said, great change, fantastic job. If you haven't fallen in love with him by now, I've put on something major wrong. Special guy. Okay, so he may want to show you a few more things we see here, or not. I'd like him to stay. So just step back to say, ask him, could you stay for a second? A couple of things that are coming to mind that he might be able to demonstrate for you, because he's free, liberty. When he blocks, so I was basically saying I need to show a block. If he moves his head off to that side, when you go to step in the shoulder, he's saying you can't go in. When he opens his neck up like that, he's saying, I'm inviting you to come into this area. Pay attention to this. Because if your horse has got back issues, one, he might not be caught in the field, but once you've got him here and you go to step in, he might be blocking you because the saddle's going to go on, which represents pain. So no, do they want you here or not? Is he saying you can come in? If you're starting horses on the saddle, and you've got your saddle in your arm, and you're stepping in and they block, they might want to smell it, or they might say they're not ready. So you can get attention. He's paying attention. I'm asking in my mind's eye, may I step in, and it's open. And then I can rub my hands all over him. These areas are the vulnerable areas for a horse. Anything behind the rib cage has the organs. And so this is a vulnerable area for a horse. To step in and be able to rub them is a huge compliment. You might not think it, but it really is, because you are a predator, they are prey. It stays like that. When I come here, my body's asking if I may step in this side, and he's giving permission. So you put both hands on your horse, and it's a great way to get to know them. So that's what we're doing right now. Just can't change things up so that you could see different things. Now, let's see, if I get his attention and I take my eyes with me where I would like to go, I've just asked him to follow. With him, I've got him right nose at shoulder. Now, if he were to creep forward, he's not, he'd be telling me it's time to go to the gate. The distance between the two of us is really nice here. I'm leading, he's following. There's a connection, an energetic field between the two, so you can feel him. It's really neat. If I go too far forward, I'd leave him. If I go too slow, I could bore him. I've got to make sure the move on the circle there is smooth. There we go. Going back to the middle. Stand square, and here's stop. Very gently. So I think you'd agree what you've seen there allows you to determine personality and character. How we started was to look at his face. And the facial features are really neat to help you determine who you're dealing with that day. Now, Linda Tellington-Jones has done a great book on that. She studied it since, or wrote the book in the 70s with thousands of horses. And if you take that book around with you, you get a good feel as to what's happening with these guys. And so for me to see these facial features allows me to know, yes, I've got a 10-year-old stallion, but from what I'm seeing and feeling energetically, looks good to me. Everything that we saw in his face was backed up through his movements. Everything. So same thing as the last fella. Let's get his eye contact. We've got a great program to be able to go forward, working with him at the speed he needs, with the methods he needs, because you want to make sure the training program actually reflects what they want. To break away and give them the time that they want, to say, you're free, I don't need you to be connected, you actually walk in a straight line away. He has the choice to follow or stay. Remember last time he followed? Because he was asked to follow. This time, if he does, first he stood there, then it's his choice. It tells you a little bit more about the horse, because it tells you that they're choosing people, which is really neat too. So there's another additional piece on the character. I'm going to leave him in here to take the questions so that you can ask something, and we can look at what he does while he's free to do whatever he wants to do, and see if he continues to communicate when he's at liberty. Okay? So any questions on this fella? Yes?
Okay, my question was about the 4 steps.
How to do it.
Yeah.
So I visualize first, and everybody will, because anybody with a good plan, you going into a situation, you'll usually have an idea what you're doing. So if you think something through, the thoughts will automatically generate pictures. So if you've been studying like the law of attraction, people know what you put out there is what you get back. If you study animal communication, you see in pictures, and you'll know that words go to pictures. So he's already doing this. That's his language. If I were to miss that step, it could be seen as a little rude. So you visualize it first. With him and with the other fellow, you saw how quick that was. There's your first step. Your second step, for me, means the energy piece. Because as soon as you've got a clue as to what you're doing, you can adapt your energy. So if you're looking for forward motion with a degree of impulsion, you would bring up energy within. You'll hear that when you're riding. Your instructor might say, you know, ride more energetic, or ride your horse. I've heard them say, don't ride the saddle, ride the horse. And it's that thing of really feel that horse, and you want to match him. So the energy on the ground, same thing. There might be a really wild horse that you're dropping the energy a bit, but with him, if I bring it up, he matched it, which is really special. From that piece, we go into body language. So the body language is already there in as far as the eyes were on eyes, because I want to connect with him to say, it's you I'm talking to. So visualizing with you, I'm looking at you, visualizing to you. So I've already connected with the eyes, but at the same time, I'm actually emphasizing it. He could turn back and go, well, you just invited me in, why should I leave? I'm going to reinforce it with body language. There's your third step. Your fourth step would be any tools that you might have. I would urge you, and I've worked with and without a whip, I'd urge you to work in here without one. The whip often has an implied intent. So if you've ever worked with one and you've tapped your horse, it has an implied intent. They know that this means forward. This, it's 50-50, it's you and them. So you strip a person from a whip and you have a horse free, the horse's true personality comes through. So what you see is the true being, where with a whip you can actually control behavior. I'm going to ask him to make the circle bigger. I can do that by pressing shoulders out with this hand, or I can pick up speed towards his shoulder, like that. That presses him out, and again, you'll see it directly, and you can increase your energy bubble to do that. Now, I'm going to ask him to go forward through going to the bathroom, and the line acts as an extension of your arm. That was his choice. If I keep my feet fluid, he remains fluid. Now, if I put weight in the hind of my feet through the base, if I put the weight in there, you'll see him slow down. If I pick up my feet, you'll see him speed up. If I ask for this forward motion a bit more, so you clearly see it. We said, don't stop your feet. Okay. We pick up feet. Oh boy. You'll see him pick his feet up. If I put the weight, you'll see him slow down. Ear remains locked on. Fluidity in the footfall. We'll bring him down. Bring my eyes back to his hind feet. Ask him to continue. So there's a transition change through the eyes. So what you've seen is the eye movement, as well as the mimicking and the body language. There's the hand gesture. Going to bring him down to a walk and keep him moving forward, nice and gently. So I want to have the walk, trot, canter. I'm going to ask him to step up and partially to ask him to move forward to see how he felt about that after he was allowed to relax between other pieces of the jigsaw. And he's fine. I'll bring him down to a walk with the 4 beats in my mind. I'm going to take that. So he went 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, wait, stop. So I want to show you that again. That was the telepathic piece. And I'd like him to show it a little more clearly than he actually did. Okay. So just asking him to leave, the left hand locks the eye, right hand looks for forward motion. From the trot, he's doing it beautifully. I'll think about the 4 beats. The 1, 2, 3, 4. You just visualize that. 1, 2, 3, 4. My eyes are on eyes this time. See a nice big sigh from me. And I'll thank him for softening. So that you can see, you can use energy, you can use the body language to say, I'll come in then. And I can use visualization. So when he's paying attention, not when he's distracted, and actually invite him to connect. But it's only when they actually look at you with that eye. So you see he's not at the time, sort of there. Step ahead and ask him to connect. For me, I'd call that reaching out. And he is so respectful with it that he comes that close. We go for the heart-to-heart connection, that's facing square to him, heart-to-heart. Invite him into that heart space. And that piece transfers into so many things when you want them to actually go with you somewhere. Hopefully pay attention, maybe walk over something undesirable, and you keep them slightly in your vision as you do this, and move through oil the whole time. This side, for most horses, is harder, go left, but not really for him. So he stays very connected with it. Now if I come back to the center and just gently turn around to his stop, and I can thank him for that. It's like his head to be straight. When I move from this position here, slightly to the off side, that's when I'm asking if I may go straight through. If he keeps his neck straight, it's a yes. Now that's a good thing. For you, you might just turn around and go, okay, he's staying, he said yes. But it tells you a lot more than that. It actually tells you that the chances of him having backache are slim. The chances of him being out of alignment are slim. Because if he were in pain, he'd block you. And he'd say, you can't go that way. Either because it means you're going to get on my back, or ultimately a saddle's on the way, and he'd block it. Now, that's what a block looks like. So I was just asking in my mind's eye him to show a block. It's that subtle, there's a block. So when you want to go in with the saddle or to touch him on that, you need the head to open up to say, you may go straight in, and it's okay. It's their whisper, and the whisper is ultimately the piece of the language to tell you how your horse is feeling. If you miss the whisper, that's the one that can accelerate up to the fact that you can't catch your horse, and you'll wonder why. I put my eye on, the ears on, it tells me he knows I'm here, and I say, could you follow me? And he said, what? We'll take a genius on that one. So he tossed his head, very animated, went, I know what you said, not following. So that's his choice. It's not bad, it's indifferent, it just is. But what I can say is, mister, I'd like you to pay attention, and I'd like you not to move your feet. So, we're going to block, and when he softens, I soften. So you saw on the turn he softened, and you mirror it, you match it with your energy to actually soften as well. It's often the, say it's unscripted, the whole thing is
but it's often the lesson there that you get the most out of, that you see that actually that's the piece we stay consistent on. He's got the one swirl, but what really stands out to me is this bump just there. Really big bump. Can we show people? So he's got a bump just on that nose. So in my experience, the bump lower down will often create a lead horse, my experience. And so what that can mean is if you've got multiple swirls and this bump down here, you're going to have highly intelligent, creative, basically complicated, with the ability here as a lead horse that you have to respect. So I'd say he's higher, not just by age, but by that bump. If you look at his mouth and you remember the other guy, it's a little smaller along here, so not quite as long. He's got a longer mouth. For me, that means more experience, and it doesn't have to mean age. So I look at that and go, okay, I've got longer here, I've got the bump, which puts him higher in the ranking, but it would also allow me to know that if you put too much pressure on Marnix in the manner he doesn't want, he's going to fight back. So there will be conflict. So it would be negotiation with him. So geldings we can usually tell what to do, but I would say, okay, I'm going to respect him for his age, I'm going to respect him for what I'm seeing here. Let's just see what he comes up with. Now, it's not gospel, but what it does, like I was trying to explain to you, it allows me at least to read the face enough to know if I'm okay. But a heart shape, and we've got a little bit of a moustache here, very people-oriented when they have moustaches. So you've got a soft spot just there in this fella too. But we'll see how he moves in the round pen, and I can change it up. So I may just do a whole different scenario with the round penning that you see it if he takes it there. So we'll see where he takes it. Doesn't seem so worried about his environment. Read all of it so that you learn to speak as to what you see. All 4 feet on the ground, seating relaxed, head dropped, eyes soft, hasn't got a care in the world right now. So he's been around the block or two, as we say in England. So he's very comfortable with it. My only thing would be, can I keep this to the level he needs? Can I get my introduction in time that he thinks I'm even worthy of it? And will he even correspond, or does he turn around and say, this round penning malarkey is actually kindergarten and not my scene? So that would be some thoughts I have that I won't keep, because I'm holding that you can actually create that. So we'll see what he says. Very nonchalant. Okay, can you see his nostril? The nostril's wrinkled. He's totally disgruntled by this exercise. He really thinks it's, I can't say the word I want to. So the ears locked on, nose is up, and I'm going to bring my eyes back to his hind feet and just slow him down. I'll ask him to slow down. Thank you. See, I've even got to choose my words. All right, so the nose stays disgruntled. He's not going faster, he's not going slower. It's what he does. Now I would make the decision, do I insist he canters, or do I leave it? I can ask, I'm asking with energy, I'll ask a little more. There. And you make your decision, that's nice. I can thank him for that by just bringing down energy. And he said, with the thank you, well, let's trot then. But it's a more active trot. So he did listen, and he did respond. His ears locked on. I'm going to ask him to walk. I'm going to bring down my football to slow it down. So then he will also show you the difference between slowing the feet down versus the mind or the eyes. He listens to the eyes sooner than he is the feet. Okay. So, look at that face. He smiled when he turned in. 14, long in the tooth. Totally respectful, even though he's got a strong opinion. And the close connection always validates, ultimately, your work, ultimately the communication. But he can show you a few more things. So as I walk forward, my steps have a purpose. My shoulders are fairly upright but round. I'm looking for him to be slightly behind my shoulder, as if we've done enough of this now. But if I walk too fast, he'll stop. You break your connection. So I can show you these bits on connection. If I walk too slow, sometimes that can break your connection because it's too boring for them. See that? So there is that one walk that is walking like a leader, with the rhythm, with a purpose, and I can pick him up by a smaller circle. That's why I showed you that. That's more pressure, smaller circle than a larger one. And he's walking exactly where he needs to be. Not too far behind, not too close. I can ask him to stand, square in front with eyes on eyes, and remember, he's going to follow now, just on the look. He does usually want to stand, the ears on. He's asking what it is I want. I feel comfortable with it enough. I block him with the eyes to say I'm going to go around you. He's going to move his head to see where I am. That would be different than me asking him to follow or to yield. So the eyes can ask him to stand, to back, to come, to yield. There's so much your eyes do. That's the whisper.
Excalibur over there, he's classed as he's got a group, it used to be a really buckskin body. He's classed as a slate buckskin. He's part of the Spanish Mustang Registry. He's brought up on 4,500 acres in Oshoto, Wyoming. He's, little cue there, not so sure about Smokey. He's rising 5, one of the loves of my life, and with Excalibur, for those that met him yesterday, he has the 3 swirls on the forehead. And what interests me is he's either going to be a peach today or he's going to be a pain. It's really one of two of the things. So we'll see. So far, he looks like he wants to be here, which will be really nice. But also, if he goes one way or another, that will be a good thing. He's kind of a finished horse on the methods in a way, but it's the first time he's left home and been part of the demos, so it's a good exposure for him. Today, you can get the personality character assessment in hand, but at the same time, if you don't have a round pen to search out some of the issues that might be there, these exercises help tremendously. They will look quite simple when you see them, and hopefully they look simple. We might get one stuck on one area, but they will look quite simple. And it will be hard for you to maybe see the value, but I want to share with you that each piece that we demonstrate can change behavior overnight. And I've saved horses' lives by just massaging ears, by just getting the relaxation under the eyes, by massaging gums if they're head shy. You can save a life if somebody's so frustrated saying, I'm going to get rid of this horse, he's a head shaker. So as little as they may seem when you watch, they could be huge for you at home. So I want you to think broad on it. The less that happens in here, the better. So if we have no rearing, bucking, biting, striking, we're doing really well. It makes it a less entertaining demo, but it is actually better because we haven't got the flight, fight, or freeze going on. So my hope, and this is for my students, is for us to keep it really mellow, keep the adrenaline down. That's what our intention is. We're going to stand at the shoulder. It's the safest place to stand. I do need his attention, and you've got like an L on your finger, and you can really cup the ear here with that L, and you're massaging. If you can't see too well on that side, you might want to come over if that stands in the way. And what you want to be able to do when you stand in the shoulder, you keep the hand soft and open. That's the hand that's soft when it's open. And you can have his nose straight or slightly to you, and you want to be able to massage this ear. Ultimately, there's an acupressure point at the top. If he changes, just bear with me. There we go. And that's actually an acupressure that helps with stress release. So if you've got an animal in stress, human being too, you can rub that acupressure point and it can save a life. So in our experience, it has saved with colics, but it can be a stress reliever. Now he's getting stressed, not because of the rubbing, because he's being asked to stand in an unfamiliar place. But you would rub the ears. Now with a head shy horse, this will be really helpful to do. And you want to be able to turn the ear inside out to medicate. So you're checking for ticks or ear mites. And so you can be able to turn this inside out. 1, to clip, if you're going to clip for shows. 2, to be able to medicate. But also for this acupressure point. Now from there, you want to be able to put your finger in an ear. The pads of your fingers are equivalent to the horse's skin as far as we know. It's the most sensitive part of your body. And so you're actually massaging with either 2 or 3 fingertips here, and you can just go under the eye. Just want a bit more attention. Now the collection of nerves underneath the eye means that you can also put a horse to sleep doing that. Now, remember, you're trying the personalities and characters with it to see who likes what. And what you'll do is you'll kind of scan the room to see what the guys are doing back there, to see which horse likes what the most. Stop. What you do on the one side, you do on the other side. So a quantity of the information will go from one side of the brain to the other. You want to make sure you do everything on the other side as well. And in a minute, say he's going to do the other side with X. Before we get there, if your horse grounds ties, you can put the line on the ground. Let's see, Mr. Mouthy. Believe it or not, rubbing the gums can help mouthy horses. If you're not comfortable doing this, you'd have to get used to it. If you come in at the side, which is the bars, just here at the side, where your bit goes in, there's no teeth. If you go too far up, you're going to get bitten by the molars. But if you come in at the side and then come up and around, you can massage the gums. This helps with medication, it helps with deworming, it helps with bitting, it causes relaxation, and in this case you see my cold engaging, that upper lip's very mobile. It is not for the light-hearted in some ways, because you can see you're actually putting some weight into that. So you're finding out how much pressure does he actually respond to and what does he like. If you're too light, they're going to pull your fingers up there from that mouth all the way to the teeth. Now you see that extension, we had that yesterday. So if anybody worries if their horse isn't having too much fun, he goes from little anxiety with what's actually happening to extending the lips, saying this is an awful lot of fun, I'm going to be obnoxious about it. So he's kind of going through emotions while he's here. So I'm going to demo that again. Come in, massage the gums. It helps with relaxation. There we go, that's much better. And then he says that's it. You guys can do that as long as you want. You want to get your horses used to it. You don't take a vision from a Mustang because that's their lifeline, that's all they have. So to do that, Susan's walking in here, never having met her, it's a sign of trust. Can she do it? It's more of a request. So your hands become feelers for you. Don't just go, my task is to rub under the eye and create relaxation. Try to move that out of your mind, and instead you would say, my hands are feeling, what am I getting? What's my horse responding to? How are they replying? Can I cover the eye? Will she allow me to? What a huge compliment if she does. How special. She doesn't know me, but she allows me to take away the vision. So you really honor the animal at the same time to say, this is awesome. I want to highlight your personality, and I appreciate what you're going through. So, and then just lies on the bridge of the nose, and then you wait patiently. The hand can control the direction of the nose. That's your second one. And I'll tell you more about it in just a moment as to why we do this. Third one, hand on the pole. And you can go into stroking action immediately as he lowers the head. So you're releasing pressure from the location and you're stroking. Fourth one, well done. So it teaches balance, footfall. The backing up is something they don't do in nature naturally unless they're going to kick somebody else. So it can get his focus, it can get him listening and working a bit better. So in his case, you've got to be very careful that he doesn't get bored. That's your biggest thing. Okay. So you guys are Doing your neck drops, neck heels, back there. I think we're doing okay. Good job, Elaine. Okay, we're going to disengage the hind end with him to keep him moving. And the cool thing with this, what I want you to look at, maybe watch this and then see if you saw it all. I'm going to break it down for you as to what actually happened here. All right, and now you can see how much you saw. When I step in, I'm putting my shoulders towards his hips. There's your body language. Your shoulders and your chakras are actually creating energy back here to move him. Watch again. So this is driving this area. There's the shoulders. Good job. The eyes are looking at his left hind foot. Your eyes can tell your horse where to go. So I will be looking at the left hind to indicate I'm looking for that to cross over. The line has about a foot in it, so that you're not yanking it and you're not pulling him, you're pushing him. So you're driving him, not pulling him. So you take about a foot in the line. You ask him to come, look at that left hind, hips are towards his hips, disengaging the hind end, so he's crossing one foot over the other, and creating rhythm in my footfall to get rhythm in his footfall. He's doing it really well. And stepping out to release pressure. That's disengaging the hind end. Everybody does it a bit different, but what's nice there is you've got the body language in there. So you're bringing in the visualization, the energy, and the body language. What that is, that's the other piece to the one rein stop. The first piece is the neck yield. You've put that on him. The second piece is the disengaging. It's the one rein stop. It helps you when you're leading to actually prevent the bolting, bring them back, and when you're riding, you disengage and bring the neck around. So it's a really cool thing to do without a lot of pressure. If you're walking slow, your horse should be there. If you're jogging, your horse should be there. Now, the way we lead is nose to shoulder. It's not the old BHS way. I know that's British Horse Society, but it's here as well, Pony Club. It's a little different. We're looking nose to shoulder, and I'll tell you why. If you do shoulder to shoulder, although that's the safest place to stand on a horse, often we see horses leading people when it's shoulder to shoulder, and you get dragged, and you see kids being dragged. But if you're actually leading with their nose at your shoulder, you never have to interfere with the horse, and the line can be loose. And you can actually speak to them through the body language and not necessarily create that. She's way better than you think. She's nailing this. So for those that haven't jogged, that's going to be at least Elaine and Adam here. I'd like you to do the distance with these guys. Just put it in because you've got to put the distance in anyway to demonstrate it. So we're going to create the distance and get them to come off pressure. So there's several ways to do it. Excalibur and Smokey have both actually gone with their handler really well when they've gone up to the jog. But I'd like you guys to see another way to teach a horse to do this, and it would be good practice for the guys back there. It's quite hard to grasp on times, but we're looking to create a distance between our horse and us. And so you'll hear me say create the distance, and that's what Adam's going to do. And so is Elaine going to do that. And once you've created the distance as Romeo comes, neat. You then ask him to come. You've got to be confident in this because you've got a horse jogging to you. Not always will they jog. Nice, Elaine. What this teaches is a horse to come off pressure. So if they stand, they need to learn to come off pressure. They're interpressive species. That means by nature, if they feel somebody press on them, they would lean back into it. They don't yield automatically. They learn to yield. So this teaches them the pressure on the noseband and how to yield from it and not go back into it or flip over. Crucial when you're teaching a horse to actually lead, load or tie, because the first time they could fight, this will prevent that if you go here in the next stage. So creating the distance means that you're no longer close. Good job. Bit of action. Good job, Exie. Good job, Saya. We're creating the distance so they no longer have you close, that they're actually watching you. They have to feel the pressure and calculate this. So get it through in their mind to say, I have to go forward. That's what you're teaching them. If you're sitting in the audience thinking, how's this differ from a chain? Entirely. There's not a comparison. A chain will lock into place and you won't get the release. Horses learn from the release, not the pressure. And so you've got to make sure there's an instant release. You've got 3 to 8 tenths of a second to get that release for them to associate it with the action. So the release of the halter will help for them to go, okay, when I move forward, I'm instantly getting a release. And you're looking for them to yield, to follow the guidance, have the pressure behind them, come back. You're teaching them space. Great with bolting horses. Get ready for riding, for long lining. And it actually, with Mustangs, it sometimes takes a month to do this. Took me a month when I was gentling Mustangs. But it tells them not to freak out when they're enclosed. So any horse that has claustrophobic issues, this is really neat. Good job, Elaine. And I've always done it on long lines. Good job. Glad you can be present. Okay. With the long line, you can actually wrap them in it. With this shorter line, this is the 14 foot, but very good for leading. You can't wrap them so well. But when you're getting better at it, you can eliminate the body language and just get the guidance. I like it because it's colourful, it's light, it's engaging, kind on the eye, and there's quite a lot that you can do with this. If you could just walk him over for me, keeping it, he can smell it. Some of them like to smell, touch, they do it in different ways. Some of them will paw, touch it, pick it up. Be careful if they've never had something like this in their mouth before. Horses are known to clamp down. If they pick up and they get fearful, they clamp down on it. And they could run off with something. And you might initially find, isn't it exciting, they're running off, but it really is a fear-based thing. The jaws clamp down and it can go into a huge wreck very quickly. So I like them to smell it and touch, but not necessarily pick it up in case the fear comes in there. The next thing is, because we're going to cover him in it in a moment, you've just seen that he's comfy walking over a bit. So keep going, guys. Just know that we're going to put it on him. I don't know if Gracie and them have seen it before. And if he can walk over it and he feels comfy doing that, and I want you to watch behaviour, because you might have been listening to me. We'll walk over again once he's gone to the bathroom. Okay? And if you see his ears, I'm hoping all of you could see that. The ears were forward. It's a great sign when they walk over something that's unfamiliar to them. Walk them over enough that you've got rhythm in the footfall. When he gets playful, he's getting confident. The extended lip again says this is well easy. Ears forward tells us he's not worried. If the ears were floppy, he'd be worried. If the ears are back, he's basically feeling and looking at this. Ears forward means he's really good with it. We don't need to be concerned. Okay, so Excalibur's had the parachute on him before, so you're going to see him engage. Instant there, let me get to the parachute. He's not actually allowed to be rude about it, but at least you guys can see that he's happy with a parachute. When we work in twos, I'll be at the shoulder and she'll be here at the head, and we just down my nose slowly. Good job, Exie, just wait. In his case, if he's never had it on before, would be rubbing this all over one side and making it smaller, and I'm hoping somebody's going to choose the parachute so you can see it from the beginning. You would rub one side, and I'll show you properly so you get the feel of it. So you can see he's comfy. I want you to see that before I just throw it over my horse. You've got the ears forward. Yes, he will move. He was doing that anyway. And back up. Stop being naughty with her. There. And go on the other side again. Now we'll see if we get behaviour from the other horses. You may or may not get some, but it's a really neat parachute. So we're going to cover him in it. Hopefully without him biting it. Just take it for a second from you. And if he steps on it, I'm not too worried. It could rip, but I'm not too worried about it. If I can, I'll keep it on. Walk forward. Oops. You stepped on all of it, dude. There we go. So if you're not comfy doing it on your own, you'd get two people. I know him fairly well. And I'm letting Gracie see him. There we go. And you see his ears are forward, breathing well. I want all horses to see him with the parachutes on. Good job. You'll see Gracie's head up, ears forward. You'll see Sadie going, what is that? The little filly too. They're not sure what he is when he changes silhouette or he changes shape. It's really kind of neat to see behavior patterns. There we go. Good job. We got them all coming. Yay. There you go. Okay, so it's a fun tool to have now. Might get you working actually, as if you're not already. Okay, everybody ready for this? I'm going to hold him. Can you just take this parachute from me? Let's show the diversity of the parachute. There's handles on it. Everybody ready for this? None of my students know what we're doing. We kind of are flexible and we go with the flow. I'd love for you to take two handles and from that side of the arena, run to that side with a parachute. I just love the responses. It'll be fun. Make sure all the horses can see her. So here I'm saying don't create scenarios, not too much excitement. If you see an issue, you slow down. Yay! All right. So, a few things. Well done. A few things on that you want to pay attention to, because you might be watching her running with the parachute. So Excalibur turned back, looked at it. He thinks it's a fun thing to view. Gracie actually backed off some. Now, the distance between the item and the horse is paramount. The closer you are, the more pressure. The further away, the less pressure. So for her, that distance was close enough. For Sadie back there, it was fine. You could get closer.
Misty wanted to go closer.
Misty wanted to go closer. All right, we're going to get you real fit here. So without spooking Gracie, which will mean you might have to lower your arms, we're now going to run around the whole arena, which means... If you're not doing fun, you're doing something wrong, right? But we're going to try and keep it in the blind areas of the horses. So this is a big piece. This is going to help spook busting if horses don't see like things coming up behind them. I'll move him somewhat in the middle. And if you can, you're going to suggest to your horses that they stay facing this way. If they can't, work with them. But the suggestion is, can you have it in your blind area? If Gracie's not sure and your arms are up, lower your arms, less pressure, and go slower. And then when you get here, pick up speed, raise arms again. So arms make you bigger, lower down smaller, speed, more pressure, less pressure if you're walking. So you'll decrease pressure for Gracie, increase for everyone else. Okay, so pay attention. Make sure you got your two hands, the coils in one hand, force them in the other. Good job, guys. Well done. Nicely done. Good job. Keep going. So X is watching. I'm going to keep him on a long line. Look at that. Good job. And a slight pinch, and you can breathe. So everybody ready? Everybody got a heads up? Okay, we're going to run the other way around. We want the hands loose. Pay attention, X. Atta boy. Good job. Love it. Good job. Soft hands and suggest. Nice, Elaine. So you see what the difference is with the filly? She just moved around gently. When they scoot around, there's fear-based if it's a scoot. If it's a walking around, it's all right, and they're settled as you go. Well done. Thank you. All gone. I can let it go if it is too much. So you want to really neck rein somewhat with your horse before you try this. So everybody's getting a great spook busting demo. Make sure your horses are safe so I don't fall off. No pressure. I don't want any spooking. I've got no control. All right, so good job, Gracie. So X is pretty good. He's leading the charge. All right, so what more excitement can we do? We can make this into a trot, right? Trot on. Easy, tiger. Good job. So it should raise up in a bit if I raise my arm. Can we do hand legs? Attaboy. In the back, you're going to just lower that. Good job, kids. How are we doing? Good job, Sadie. Well done. Okay, we're going to raise it up. Right up. Yay. All right, I'm just going to lay it over his back end. Easy. We've got 2 handles here. So let's see if we can change this up. Can we handle this, X? Okay, I'm going to make sure I can let go without breaking my thumbs. Okay, make sure I don't get caught, right? So we're changing the outline for these guys. How are we doing? Good job. Okay, easy. It's working pretty well, eh? So far, so good. All right. Let me come around on the left, Susan. Oh, look, we've got some flight in it. Yay. Good job, X. How's she doing? Okay. Easy. All right, we're going to come through the center. Watch out, we're going to be closer to you. We'll change direction so everybody knows what I'm doing here. Easy. Oh, do you want to go up there? There you go, there's the voice for your ball. So, you know, you thought you'd go up and I thought, oh, good idea. I didn't have that one. Oh, okay. All right, so up to the trot. Good job, X. There we go. So he's nice and light. So he's never had a bit in his mouth. And he rides off of a side pole usually. Or he does no voice commands. Good job. And all of the voice commands were taught to him on the ground. So kind of carried them over. And the softness, basically, you can keep if you never go harsh. And softness just means really light hand. So he's pretty good with all of it. He knows the back. And you can put your own cues on a horse to get that. So warm. But there's Excalibur showing you how advanced you can go if you're comfy riding bareback with a halter or indeed with a parachute. But he's never done he's done the parachute, but not in an open arena with other horses. But you can see he's happy. And that's really what you're looking for, is that happiness. And where does he want to take it? Give them the voice, allow them their idea. I believe that when they do have the idea, you create that 50-50 partnership. If you're working cattle, you want your horse to have his own mind. If you're out on the trail, you want them to have their own mind. Because if they don't, they can't keep you out of danger. So I encourage you to give them that voice. He's saying, could you get off now? And he does that because he's backing up. So he's going, we're done. You need to get off. So I can acknowledge that. And I'll acknowledge it by, in my mind's eye, saying, I got you. And I'll honor it, because we are done. And so, hold on, he still needs to stand. There you go. But he can get that voice, because he's done a good job. And so that's the same kind of thing of, if he's done a good job and we're happy, finish on the good note.
My journey with Reiki began in 1998, and after I became Reiki attuned, my life changed dramatically. You might be wondering why that would be, and that would be a good question, but certainly those that become Reiki attuned, they have quite big life changes. The attunement really means that you're changing your vibration frequency from a lower one to a heightened one. Heightened meaning you can actually facilitate healing on individuals, on yourself, and on animals. It also means when you get Reiki attuned that many people have experienced being able to talk to animals that way. So that if you're inclined to explore the option and the chance to do telepathy, Reiki has certainly helped with many people with that. I continued with my journey, and I actually came from England, hence the accent, and went out to California to become a horse whisperer. I did that successfully, became Monty Roberts' head instructor for many years, and along the journey I studied Reiki 2. I did Reiki 2 to gentle wild horses.
And what that means is the Reiki 2 is the distance healing, and you can send energy healing from a distance, be it across a room, a paddock, a different state, or around the world. It can even go to the past, and it can go to the present time and the future. It's a really neat skill to have. I continued with the journey and became a Reiki master around 2003. For myself more than anything, not sure if I was going to teach it or not, and I ended up teaching pretty soon thereafter. Along that journey, I studied reconnective healing as well, and I ended up doing healing touch for animals. My journey still is happening, as it will be for most of you, especially if you're sat here, you're looking for something else. And I studied the Karuna Reiki, and that's for Reiki masters. It's kind of the level that you can reach, and then you wonder what next. And so I'm hoping one day to go to Japan, and that's where this originated. So this is a Japanese art, and it stands for Universal Life Force. What you're seeing today is a little piece of how I brought it to the animals, and I did this because my Reiki students weren't sure how to take it to the animals. They didn't feel particularly comfortable to take the Reiki over there. They didn't know what to look for, what hand positions to take. And so I thought I'd create something. And it happened with the Mustangs and then with Premarin babies, etc., that I thought, okay, let the horses teach me.
Now you start to see horses yawn when they release. They don't only yawn when they release, they do it for other things too. But it's with the Reiki, oh, here's the heart chakra. That one's staying quite closed, so when it's still, it's closed. Now you've got two choices. You've got a throat chakra just there, and you've got one here. This one's going to be easier, I think, for me. And that one's closed too. Okay, here's the heart chakra. I'm just going to do it a second time because I wanted you guys to see that more than anything. The heart is obviously anything to do with your heart. So any grieving, loving, if it's closed, chances are something's happened there. Solar plexus is just here.
Touching in the barn.
Okay, so we've got another closed one. Coming on to the sacral area just here.
2:30, please.
I don't know if any of you had intuitive hits in this audience to see which ones would be open or closed. Looking that way. Oh, look at this one. So we've got open on the root. Yeah. Exactly. We've got the root is the one that grounds the individual, and it's really interesting because we've got the brow. So the 7th back here, and 6 and 7 open. Interesting. So it can be helpful, it can be a gauge. If you're very intuitive and you feel energy, you wouldn't even need to do that. You could literally hold your hand over a chakra and see what you feel. But this is a nice gauge and it backs it up as well. So having checked the chakras, I'm going to actually switch people out in a second here and see what we can do. There's many ways to deal with this. We just check the chakras. So we can double up people, and if we double them up, we blend energies. That means that everybody has a different energetic vibration. When you're dealing with a horse, they will feel your energy. You're already in their energy field. It's 10 times larger than that of a human being. And so if you've got two different energies, mine is very different probably to most people in this arena, you might want to blend that so they don't have a shock from one individual to the other, but it's actually very similar. So we're going to put Laverna, can you come on over here with Susan? And what I might do is just hand him off, and then you guys can do a session together and then bring the next guy in and see how we handle this. And what I'm thinking is, he's had a colic, so part of me considers the Reiki from start to finish. And yet for the colic, the hand positions are pretty useful and helpful. So with Reiki with a colic, you could actually put your hand in an area. If it was happening at the time, you could put both hands on his belly. Well, he watched. And I like to look for behavior. If you have any silence, it's interesting because I'm just looking for behavior. And I like to give them the voice with the body language at the front there, so you see Susan will allow him to have the head movement. So if you didn't think energy was moving, you can certainly see behavior in a horse. And if you look here, his breathing's just a tad different. And if you've been watching the whole thing, you'll see where he's been comfortable and where he's not. You've been watching a bit there, yeah. So this one he's worried about. He's not so happy. But he's leaning into it, but there's the next cue. So that's not so good, Laverne, so you'll change it up. So in effect, in this case, you're giving them a voice, and you have to learn what that means. And so if he's pouring, he said no, he went to nipper, now he's pouring, she needs to change it. So that would mean you go to a different place. But what's also interesting, he's leaning into her with the right foot. So he's kind of saying, I want it, but not really. So something's good about it, but how she's presenting it isn't how he wants. So they're going to have to figure out how does he want it. So I don't know if you guys can hear. Saya said he's a little nervous, so she just started doing the Reiki to calm the nerves down. It's a great thing to do. If you do the Reiki either at the heart chakra, often on the head, so the brow and the crown, you can utilize it as a natural sedative where you'll calm them down. Obviously not every animal. I don't want you to go home, try it, and then you say, didn't work for me. It's not all the time. It's not magic. You've got to feel out what is right for the individual. So if he sees that as a good thing and he's ready to release things and he does feel safe in the environment, then you can do that. So you're just going to let energy flow. So over here then, Saya's going to place her hands where she feels is intuitively correct. I'll put you back together. Thank you. So that means you don't have to do the chakra or the scan. You truly just put your hands on to say, what feels right for me in this moment? Where do my hands need to be? An energetic session with Reiki, for example, can be 5 minutes if you go to De-Stress Cafe, all the way through to 90 minutes is a full session, a real session. With horses, that varies. That means if the horse says it's only 3 to 5 minutes, that's what it is. They don't stand in their own way, and the healing can happen. If they say it's 90 minutes, you'd have to be prepared to stay there or go back later for them. And we've had that at the Bitterroot Ranch. I do a healing horses class there annually. It's a really neat place, surrounded by 100,000 acres. And we do the Reiki 1-2, Reiki for horses. And when you get a case like this that Bill's got, where she's really enjoying her Reiki, he would actually miss lunch so that he could facilitate that healing and just be there for her. And so that's what you're really looking at. Is it a 2-minute session? Is it 5? Is it half an hour? Does it go on? It's as long as they say it goes for, and you'll be prepared to be there with them. It's a funny thing, because some of the horses don't know what they don't know, and it's like any human being. But if you don't know what you need to release, or you don't know how to release it, you might want to move away. It can be daunting to release it. So it's funny, we've got a lot of licking and chewing and shaking. Just that, remember, you just coax him to stand, but he's got a lot of licking and chewing and shaking anyway. So he's disgruntled with his nose. And I found with many horses, they go through a ton of emotions when you do the Reiki. So you'll see a bit of peevedness or upset. You sometimes see the anger, the sad, anything come through emotionally. In this case, he's now dropped the nostril. So it was high and a bit disgruntled. It's now down. Okay. So he quite likes this one. This works quite well. Yeah, so he likes that quite well. So just try a few more things and be confident with what you're trying, so that you go just check inside, and then you can check as to what's great. So if you find something that works, that sits with him, like, what, you're going to nibble me, really? Let's not do that. And just remember, remind him to stand. See, every time you put your hands on this area, he licks and chews. Every time. You've got the Reiki as a piece of your toolbox to help you facilitate healing on every level. This goes through to the cellular level. So it's a really neat thing to do. Now what Bill's doing, he's moved on. Remember that hand by the withers is also the heart chakra. So he's gone from the heart to the sacral area. The spine can act as a conduit. So for energy, conduit can move down there. The ears will move to listen to him. So you're looking at the ear position. Her ears have to go back to know what she's doing if she's paying attention. If they were flat back, it would be different. But going to the sacral area, this is the area with relationships too. So relationships and just watching if that has happened before. And so he's basically moving the energy down, and it would be my thought that he'll work his way down to the root chakra, and he would probably finish there, if it feels right, unless he's drawn somewhere else, to actually move energy all the way through the horse. It's nice to move it down. In Reiki for people, you'll end up with bladder sweeps and so on. With the horses, we could end up also with a bladder sweep, but it's nice to move energy out to the rear.
Looking at not hand feeding. So we have the bucket. The reason being most horses can't handle hand feeding. So that will mean that they will see your hand as a food dispenser. If you can envision it, it could be like one of those bubbles where you put some money in, you turn it, and you have food. For them, they will see this food, if I nuzzle it enough, a carrot comes out. The day the carrot doesn't come out, or the cookie doesn't come out, they get frustrated. So they might well bite, and the biting goes to other parts of the pocket or different parts of your body, and they're not really necessarily biting, they're looking for the food, or they're getting frustrated if it doesn't come. Because it's hard for them to decipher the difference between when does it come when I touch this, and when doesn't it. So to eliminate that altogether, you feed from a bucket, and you avoid horses mugging. So therefore we have the bucket full of carrots, and my two legal guardians of the horses are fine with us using food as reward. The next piece with this would be the difference between food as reward versus bribing and luring. A big one for people. There's a big difference. You cannot bribe a horse. You cannot lure with a horse. You can use food as reward. What does that mean? It means if you're trailer loading, and you've got a nice big stock trailer, and you've got a 17-hand horse there that doesn't want to load, and you've got the feed in your hand and you're trying to lure a horse, they will not do that. They might lean out, reach out, and try and get the food. Now you could put a food trail up that trailer, and that one time you might strike it lucky, where they eat all the way up the trailer and they go in. You will not train your horse to load. The day you don't have the grain and you haven't bribed is the day they won't load. Bribing and luring does not work with a horse. The reason being, these guys actually have the food as a plateau. Their food is the grass, it's always available. They are not trophy species, so they're not predators. So dogs will kill. They go for the chase for the ground squirrel or otherwise. They kill, they get a trophy. Horses don't get trophies. The food is there the whole time. So they don't see it the same way, hence one cannot bribe or lure, but you can use it as a reward. The definition, in a way, for the reward would be when you perform what we're looking for. When you try, we will acknowledge the try and you will get a reward. That's the difference. So if they come towards the trailer and you reward that with a pet, or you reward it with your voice, you can reward it with food, with the try, only with the try. Now if you only keep it at this level, your horse will just try to put his foot up on the step up and put it down and go, I don't know how high it is. They know how high it is. They can put the foot in there and they go like this. Now if you reward all those tries, you're going to teach your horse to do this. So you have to literally lift that bar, raise it up and go, the last time I did that was good. This time I have great expectations. And that would mean you need to try a little more, so there's no food coming. So you have to play with that until you get comfortable. And touch has been exceedingly effective with teaching foals touch, and any horse that's been spooky for me. So any horse that's not quite sure about new items, not that we have one that's particularly spooky, I don't think, but I'm going to teach it to you anyway. It can teach great confidence. It empowers an individual. This is the same for dogs, actually, no difference. We taught our dogs touch as well. Merlin was frightened of big yoga balls. He wouldn't go in the room. We taught him touch, and you point, you say touch it. He pokes it down and wags his tail. It empowers him to realize that that big ball will not hurt. It will empower these guys to know that you're actually in control. Hence, come back to this tractor. He was in control of the tractor. Instead of the tractor being fearful to him that he had to kill it, he was in control that he could touch it anytime, any place, anywhere, and it would not kill him. So fear only came in because he thought he'd get hurt. If we teach them to overcome fear, and they're naturally into pressure, so naturally they seek out what it actually concerns them, and we say, okay, we're going to touch that. You can actually now teach them English, the word touch. You can teach them hand gestures like pointing, and so you can say, touch that. Now, they're not necessarily going to know right away through the finger or the word, but the visualization maybe. But let's look at horse behavior. They're curious. They don't want to touch it. So the mere fact that you've indicated what to touch, they're going to do that. That's how they learn their English. When we do this particular piece, and I'll take him in a minute, and let's hope that he's even interested and food motivated, because if they're not, the whole thing won't work. We have to mark it. And so yes, they have to. You can mark it by retreating, you can mark it by having a sound. And it's the sound that marks. The sound, if I put this in, will mark the action. And so if I'm asking him to touch this and he's beginning to reach towards it, I can mark it and give him food. He'll learn English, he'll learn the hand sign, and he'll learn that he's empowered. I've taught Excalibur to touch, hold, and fetch that toy. He's a little Spanish Mustang. Why? Because we have long winters in Colorado. It's not always much more to do, so I thought that would be fun. So it's not more helpful than that, but it's a good thing. So with Ace, he also lives in Colorado. We can teach him to touch things, and this touch won't be demonstrated particularly well because he's not nervous, but it allows you to take it home with you and explore it, and you can take it to great heights all around your farm, your ranch, your yard, where you empower them to touch something first. I found that over time they connect the actions with the food, so I don't do like 100 in a minute when they get food. I literally just bring it in. And so I'll bring in the body language just like this, asking Ace to come. So nothing changes on the body language front. We go over here to the big cooler. And I don't know if he's been over a parachute, so I'll watch him. Actually, it's a perfect response. So through his response, he's concerned. I can just leave him the slack, let him figure it out. And I could say, missed that, didn't I? I thought you were going to smell that a little longer. And I come forward, and I'd say touch it, and click. He's moving out of the bag. Okay. Okay, so now this is the first time he's heard touch, first time he's seen the point. Yeah, please. The first time he's seen the bucket full of carrots that he's going to choose if he even likes them. I just need him to take him out. Now, if you look at the releases, he decided he liked them. If you look at the releases, one release was a pet in a way reward, one release was stepping away from the park, one was the rest over here and the carrot. So it doesn't have to be just one thing. I'd like him to pay attention and realize touch. There, do you see that? So now we've got a quick away. We got a moment of touch this and look at the carrots. If you were to question if horses are smart, did you see Ace literally touch it and turn his head in one? So we need to make sure he stays focused. So the idea isn't that Ace leads the whole lesson. I'd love him to come here and touch it and mark it. He has not done this before. Okay, so in order to prevent boredom, and we have a two-swirled horse. So in order to prevent that, we're going to come to this one and say touch. Oops. And remove, that's it. And we'll do it again, so you don't think it's a fluke. Can you touch it? Pay attention. So I can direct him, point to it. No, that wasn't a touch. You've got to touch it. Try it again. Touch it. There we go. It's rather
touches it and it's a dramatic response. Do you want to do that a third time? So I'm marking it with clicking fingers. You don't have to, but it's a good way to do it. You could use a clicker. You could use your voice if you want to. There's no hard or fast rules. You want to touch this one? Not really? Did you try? Be patient. Nice, I'll take that. All right. Now what? Nice. I was just going to tell you guys that what you begin to get is a horse that wants to. So he's going to start. He's going to start to say, I know when I touch something that there's a great thing in it. So you go from, if you think back just a few minutes, from standing backwards, snorting, to I want to do this now. He's going to touch me, huh? Touch. There you go. And I like having it. If I didn't have a lane there, I'd go and fetch the bucket myself. And the pet space is good to have that. There. Dispenser. So it doesn't matter if you pick this up or not. It doesn't matter if we broaden it. See, you can't get rude with it. Touch it again. Can you see his positioning? I'll touch it if I can have the carrots. But it's not how it works. Can you touch it? He's not going to get a carrot this time. I'm telling him before he doesn't do it. Can you touch it? It says he knew no carrot, you see. He looked the other way. Alright, so there's a very quick introduction to how to bring in food. You always want to make sure that when they've done the action, you reward it. Don't get carried away with the fact that you've asked and then you forget. You have to bring in the reward. The reward can be this pet, the release, being the hand goes into a stroke, walking away from the object, bringing in food. But what you see is a willingness very quickly where he's going, I want to find things ultimately to touch, and I want to have fun with it. So there's the fun factor, and they begin to volunteer actions to the point where they're making that themselves, to be cautious as to how far you take that. Then he gets comfortable with that. And what you'll look at is timing on it, and a lot of it will be to be able to be smooth in your movements, standing close enough to him, pausing when he does the right thing, or even retreating when he does the right thing. So if you can watch closely on Bill's hand, because what you'll see there is a pause. So we did not continue to provoke it. We stopped before pause, breathe, and then you continue. The pause, this morning, the listening between the lines will be the key on a lot of it. The removal of the hand will be the jackpot when we feel that the motion is made. We ideally want the head courage to be slightly lower. We can start bringing it in a minute. And so we work as a bit of a team here. And so there's a nice new move. Really look at this, because when we say break it down into shaping, that will mean, can I hold the ear base? Can I rub my hand across where the ear is long, and can I touch the top? Your hand becomes a receptor where you're actually gauging what you can do. If we brought the food in, and I might click for that, and I go here, there you go. And so what I've said here, he's not had food either, hopefully he likes food. There we go, nice one. Okay, just put it here, thanks. And then we start marking it. So you've seen him hopefully for a few minutes to see his response and how he looks, where he braces, and where he just shoots out a bit. So now, start to watch the eyes, start to watch the behaviour, and when we get a little bit of a head drop and relaxation, right eye, and a good response, we'll mark it again. Yeah. Now the key with the marking is the action, not the result. So if I was late on marking it, late meaning my hand's already removed, you're not rewarding the correct action. The action is the movement of the hand there. So we've got halfway up and we've paused. We've got a soft hand here, good job. Now head down, I'm going to praise the head down. That's perfect. So he had his head slightly this way and the head down. So you've got to be able to see the tries. Brilliant. tries. So if you see a softening, a licking, a chewing, a head down, etc., those are the tries. So there's the intricacies. Just going to see how he feels about this. Okay, perfect. So if we see this as first the connection, the intimacy exercise, and shaping, because we're able to hold our hand there, we can still team up and we can bring in this clipper. Okay, I'm going to just put you facing him, and I'll go in with the hand. Hopefully you guys can see this. I'm just going to rub him, bit of my coat, rub him with this, as simply as that. I'm going to leave and say that was brilliant. Because he's got two handlers, and he stood very still. So you're praising the feet standing still, the neck carriage good, and him okay with the clippers there. So now we can turn it on. Hopefully you can just hear that depending on where my mic is. And we're going to start just here. And leave. So we've got the retreat, we've got him with the vibration. Hold the bucket. Put it there. Okay. And I'll put it on and off. So here's a different movement. Not yet, buddy. We put it on. You can see his nostrils and off. Put it on and off. So I'm asking a little more. He's feeling the vibration at the back of the hand, not the clippers. And off. And I'll praise that. Tiny movements. Good job. Same thing. This time we'll work up the neck some. I know what Bill could achieve without it. And I'm just going to have the sound towards the ear. We've got a nice soft hand with Bill. Standing in the shoulder for me. Just bring it up where he can hear it. We'll ask him to keep his nose straight. That's the big thing. We want you to acknowledge the clippers. We want you to stay present. And it's right close. And if I put it now this way, it's just the clippers on him. So not the actual metal piece, but he can feel that, hear that. He's staying straight. We mark it and release. Now you're seeing a tad of a brace in there, but he's not leaving. So his feet aren't moving and he's not shying away. So now that was the first time the clippers went on as they were approaching. What I mean was it was off, on, and on his body like it's a normal action. We're going to come up here, and I'd love for him actually, if he can, to lower his head for this. There, we'll take that. It's behind you, so I'll let you get that. So now he's been praised for staying straight, feet on the ground, more than tolerating and lowering his head. It's going to come straight on up here. So at the back of the hand, I'm going to just stay with him. Ask him to stand. It'll be a little harder for you to see this a bit. And all we're going to say is stand for us. So there's a bit of flight. Don't want to induce flight if you don't have to. There we go. We'll praise him for standing. So it can look a little slower at first, but gradually you'll see it come around. So there's my pause when he's thinking of leaving. Chase him for anything, I'd like him to stay there. So he's a smart little bugger because he's tilted the head away, but he's keeping his nose there, and it's a soft line, and he's keeping it there, so he's tilting it. So he's learning that actually standing there is the best thing. I'm going to praise the standing. The fact that he hasn't headbutted me or left, he's just going, I don't really want that. But he's trying. So they try as much as they can try, as hard as they can try. Perfect. And the time when you get the bucket or the time that you release, it's about the time that's spent with doing nothing. That's the praise, that's the reward, that's the digestion of the information. If you go too quick, you're not really rewarding. So you want to make sure you go at a speed where it is okay for him. I'm just going to see if I can just see how far I know I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to change it. No, my inch is different. I'm not going to show people how not to do it. So got to this point, not a bad point. So maybe this is a move that we need to build in. And this is what I mean by creativity. What do you normally do in real life? So we would go here and then bring this in. So maybe we need to bring that action in. And here's an action where I'm going to just hold your ear. I'll never clamp down on it. It's not an ear twitch. If you just keep his nose a bit straight. So here's the action where you're looking at it. So we found the trigger. So that's the next piece. You haven't got the trigger on just the ears. You haven't really got too much of a trigger on this as a whole because you tolerate it. The trigger is the two movements together. So as a behaviorist, that's what you're looking at. What is it about that? Has somebody grabbed it as an ear twitch? Maybe, maybe not. Passos or do sometimes get ear twitched. Or you look at it and go, has he created this because he didn't like it? But either way, you've got the trigger. So what we want to do is just go to that point where we could have this there as we have the hand. That will be the next piece. So we'll see if we can get there. So just bring it back. So remember, this is the piece I'm wanting. So now that his adrenaline's come up, it might just take me a moment. So you work at his speed, remember, not trying to outwit him, not trying to be smart with it. So there he just touched his ear and came away. He needs to have the choice to leave, that's not a bad thing. He's got the choice, so you're not retaining him so you get into a fight, but at the same time we'd like him to stand, we'd encourage him to stand, and we look at those actions. If I can't get to that action, we'll go backwards. We go slow to go fast. There, I'm just going to, there we go, touch him. So you go back to go forward. So you've got two people, there we go, see that? So you go back to go forward, we can come up to that point. Just keep that moving straight. The arm, and I decided what would happen if I did that. Would he feel it? How does he feel? We need the nose always to stay slightly to us. I don't want him to disassociate, and I don't want him to attach, I want him to pay attention. I don't want to sneak up there, I want to be confident, but the nose has to be here so that he's paying attention. I'm looking for all the movements, so if his head's relaxed, fine. I'm watching the eye, and I'm also watching that mouth and the footfall. I should be able to move fingers and it not bother him. To get to that point, and I want to bring this all the way up. Now this is just around like an L. It's now on the thumb. It's as close as I've been to the ear, and it's not holding him. It's just there. Okay. So that's the best I've gotten. That you're beginning to shape that behaviour, but you've never resorted to that fear piece or violence or force where you've suddenly gone, I'm so close, I'm just going to grab you. No grabbing. He's constantly got that voice, I'll come to stand lovely. And again. So even here, it's just laying on his ear. It's not doing anything other than laying. There's no grabbing the ear. I'm going to put it up here, just going to watch my leg. The thumb's right at the top. It's going to be hard for you guys to see. Very gentle, very kind. It's on his jowl. We're like 2 millimeters away. then bring him around so that you guys can see this. The hand's just lying on his head. There we go, and it's pretty close. The ear's moving. His eye's concerned, and he's tolerating. I'm going to turn it off. And praise him. You see the release is him licking and chewing. So hopefully you can see the intricacies over there, can you? Can you see the language? Okay. I don't know quite. It's because there's such minor changes that you'd have to be looking pretty clearly. So we do a similar thing here. Remember, we're okay with that. I'm going to come away and turn it off. On the hand here. Easy. Okay. Easy. Okay. There. Easy. You're okay. Lovely. I'm going to go through that little bit of a head toss. Good job. I know it's a little more pressure than you might have at the time. You guys can see that when he puts his nose the other way, he disassociates. And when his nose is here, he pays more attention. My only aim is this right now. That I have it there, that I can keep the hand there. I've got the vibration on the halter. I've got it by the ear. And I'd like to be able to hold it there for a while. I'm increasing the time frame and just holding it there. This hand is soft, this hand's soft. It's just by the ear. And what we're looking for is the nose to be straight and then a soft hand so that he still has that choice. This is the longest I've been here. We praise that. Now you've got the choice. We can go forward and we can try and clip it. We can go forward and get to the point where we can just get in there and do it, or we can finish. And those are these questions that as a horsewoman you're always asking yourself is, how much is too much? How much is progress? When do we stop? When do we continue? When you hear yourself say, just one more time, that's when you stop. I'm not quite hearing it with me, but when you hear it with you, you do that. Now there's one thing I'm going to try, and then I will finish. That was the note I wanted to finish on. I wanted to be able to go in and sort of do a nice job there. And that's the risk you take, because I was looking around, so you were going, finished. And I thought what I'd ideally like is, can I move in? Can I touch the ear? Can I bring this up without him moving? And I could. You only know if you do it. If you made the wrong mistake, you're going to be here 5 minutes longer. Going backwards, it was the right decision. The proof's in the horse, so it was the right one. You can have a little bit more.
Let's see. My boy will do a bow. He did yesterday. He was quite keen on bowing. He might not, but we'll try it. Okay, do you want to bow? So he's a wonderful specimen of the Spanish Mustang. Can you bow for us? All the way. Hold on a second. It's not ready yet. Okay. It's an unusual bow. He just likes the clapping, right? I thought he might want to roll. He might roll. Yesterday he did it on command. So he may well. This if he focuses enough. Pay attention. Do you want to roll? You want to roll? He's not sure. Right, one more time. You've got a chance.
It's not as nice as the other arena, actually. Maybe that's the problem. It's going, yeah, I think about the rolling, but not sure. The cue to roll is this, and he's See, she's doing it. Look at that. She's all excited that she rolled. Fantastic.